All right, let's just jump right in. The whole conversation around AI right now is, well, it's a mess, isn't it? It's this wild mix of incredible excitement and, honestly, some pretty deep fear, especially when it comes to our jobs. It feels like we are right on the edge of a massive shift, but nobody really knows what it's going to look like. So we're going to try to cut through some of that noise and unpack a really radical prediction. How, in just a few years, your plumber might actually be earning more than your lawyer. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. Plumbers earning more than lawyers. For decades, the entire career ladder has pointed in one direction, right? Towards those white-collar, knowledge-based jobs. But what if that whole model is about to get flipped completely on its head? So that's the big question, right? How is it even possible that a hands-on, blue-collar job could suddenly become more valuable than a profession that takes years and years of super specialized education? Well, the answer, it turns out, tells us a whole lot about where our economy is actually heading. And to even begin to answer that, we first have to look at the two huge forces that are pulling all of us in opposite directions right now. It's really a classic story, the age-old battle between fear and opportunity. And here's the thing. Both sides are totally valid. On one hand, you have this very real fear of mass layoffs, of our social media feeds just filling up with this low-quality AI slop, and, this feeling that the skills we spent years building are suddenly becoming worthless. But then, on the other hand, there's this incredible buzz, this excitement for industries we can't even imagine yet, and this massive shift towards businesses that are built on something uniquely human. So, how do you make sense of that contradiction? Well, what's wild is that this kind of disruption, it isn't entirely new. There's actually a historical pattern that can give us a clue about what might happen next. And it's all about something called the paradox of progress.
Okay, so here's the key idea, and it's kind of counterintuitive. When a new technology makes something way cheaper or way easier to do, we don't just use less of that thing, we actually end up doing way more of it, but in completely new ways. It ends up creating more demand, not less.
Just look at journalism. It's a perfect example. The internet came along and completely blew up the newspaper industry, which had about 500,000 jobs. A disaster, right? But because creating content suddenly became super cheap and easy for anyone to do, it birthed this brand new industry of YouTubers, bloggers, podcasters. And get this, it ended up creating way more jobs than were ever lost. The theory is that this exact same pattern could play out across all sorts of industries thanks to AI.
Okay, but hold on. Before we get too optimistic about all these new opportunities, there is a massive risk looming on the horizon, a potential financial time bomb that could derail this whole thing. And people are starting to call it the Great AI Bubble. I want you to just keep this number in your head for a second. $650 billion. That is the insane amount of money being spent every single year on the infrastructure that powers all this AI. See, every single time you use an AI tool, your request pings a massive data center somewhere in the world. We were spending billions and billions to build them. But here's the crazy part. These hugely expensive assets are obsolete in just 3 to 4 years. The technology moves so fast, they just have to be replaced. The financial model, as it stands right now, it doesn't add up. And this isn't the first time we've seen this kind of thing happen. Not by a long shot. History is just littered with these bubbles. You had the railway mania back in the 1840s, the electrification boom in the 1920s, and of course, the fiber optic bust that fueled the big dot-com crash. The pattern is pretty clear, and some analysts are saying it's pointing to a potential AI data center meltdown right around the year 2029.
Okay, so we've got this paradox of new opportunities on one side and a potential financial crash on the other. So how on earth do you navigate all this? Well, if a crash makes the AI economy less valuable, what becomes more valuable? The answer, it seems, lies in the skills that just can't be automated or turned into a commodity. So let's talk about how to survive and even thrive in the AI age.
It all boils down to this one simple question we have to ask ourselves. When a machine can do pretty much any knowledge-based task you throw at it, what's left? What is uniquely, irreplaceably human? And I think the answer can be summed up with this really powerful idea. We are moving away from an economy that values impressive-sounding credentials and just raw knowledge to one that values human connection and relatability above everything else. So, what does your toolkit for this future actually look like? Well, it's not about becoming a prompt engineer. No, it's about leaning into the things that make you human. It's building a personal brand so people know who you are and what you stand for. It's developing an entrepreneurial mindset so you see problems as opportunities. And probably most important of all, it's about using your unique lived experience to build real, genuine human connections.
Let's dig into that entrepreneurial mindset for a second, because this is arguably the single most important shift we all need to start making. In this new world, we all need to think a little bit more like an entrepreneur, whether you're starting the business or not.
The old model was all about becoming a specialist, finding stability in a big company, and just following the rule book. The new model? It's the complete opposite. It's about being more of a generalist who actually embraces change, who writes a new playbook, and who thrives by solving problems in a small, fast-moving team. And look, this mindset isn't some kind of magical gift. It's a process. It's actually a repeatable loop that anyone can learn. It just starts with finding an opportunity that truly fits you and your unique perspective, your why. Then you test it cheaply, make sure people actually love the thing you've built, and then you scale it up. This loop, this whole process, it's becoming the new literacy for the AI age.
So let's bring it all home with this one final thought. An AI can scan every book ever written. It can replicate pretty much any piece of knowledge, but it has zero lived experience. It's never felt heartbreak or joy or the sting of failure. And that right there is where your true, irreplaceable value lies. So the question to ask yourself isn't, what can I do that AI can't? It's, what is the one story, the one unique perspective that only I can tell? Because in the decade to come, that's going to be your greatest asset.